With the recent price increases of x86 handhelds across all branding, it can be hard to justify the price tag of these PC gaming handhelds. So before we get too excited in either direction, I think it's worth taking a look at what we can actually get in terms of performance on something like the MSI Claw 8AI Plus with Intel's Lunar Lake processor. This inevitably will be outdone by Intel's Panther Lake processor, but let's see what the Claw can do with the 30-watt CPU mode applied. Starting by looking at Hades, and this runs anywhere from 150 to 240 FPS. Now this screen only being 120 Hz means we're not going to take advantage of a lot of those extra frames. But the implication, we could run this at about half the power profile that we are here and still get 120 frames a second. A game like Star Wars Jedi Survivor is running at 50 to 60 frames a second, and it looks a lot crisper on the 1200p screen here than it does on the 800p screen of something like the Steam Deck. I was running that in low settings. Hogwarts Legacy, on the other hand, a game from around the same time, I could run in high settings, and we're getting around 30 to 40 frames a second. Star Wars Outlaws, another Star Wars game, obviously, a little bit more demanding than Jedi Survivor, but I'm still getting around 40 frames a second with low settings and XeSS upscaling. Oblivion Remastered is one we'd expect a little bit better performance in, but this game is actually a little bit more difficult to run than it seems. I'm getting around 40 frames a second here on the Claw with low settings. What's interesting about the Claw is even though we can't expect to run games in ultra settings at playable frame rates, we can run games from 2026 in playable frame rates across the board, as we can see here with Neo 3 running at 40 frames a second with low settings. And this performance has gotten better as drivers have been updated. Performance also greatly depends on the game and how well optimized it is. Capcom's Pragmata runs at 60 to 70 FPS in some cases on the second lowest setting. And obviously we want to run it in higher settings, but I left it at the second lowest setting to give it some headroom, as when we go into areas like this, the frame rate does drop into the 40s. And in case you're wondering, I don't have it on my Claw anymore. I uninstalled it after I beat it, but Capcom's Resident Evil Requiem runs at 60 to 70 FPS on low settings with XeSS upscaling as well. Capcom's games are very well optimized. But even then, a relatively brand new game like Crimson Desert actually has surprisingly good performance after recent Intel driver updates. Could expect to get around 40 frames a second here with Crimson Desert. So even though the MSI Claw is not on the level of something like Strix Halo, GPD Win 5, 1X Player Apex, or upcoming Panther Lake processor, if what's important to you is just being able to play AAA games enjoyably at playable frame rates, the MSI Claw might still do the job.